time?
Sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry. Should we stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes.
Could everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now we're ready for calling the meeting to order and roll call. Thank you, Gilbert.
You're welcome. Noreen Nelson. Sean Samsel. Here. Kelly Lee.
Here.
Charlene Robinson.
Here.
Douglas Kenyon. Frank Santa Cruz.
Here.
Ed Verberg.
Here.
John Bernal.
Here.
Frank Fry.
Here.
Bill Schlesinger.
Here.
Via WebEx. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the action item for our meeting summary. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
I'll move to approve the meeting minutes.
Okay, is there any discussion or any comments? Okay, all in favor to approve the minutes? I'm sorry?
Give me a second.
Oh, you haven't, okay.
I'll second the motion.
You okay? Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on to road repair update. Jason? Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, we're happy to present this month's update for our preservation and road repair program. So kind of getting things kicked off. I know it's been a little while since we have met. If we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Kind of walk through a few projects that we've got going on currently, and then we'll talk about some that have been advertised and some that are going to be coming up as well. And so this first one that's in construction is Old Sonota Highway. This was awarded to Southern Arizona Paving. Engineer's estimate was 1.9 to 2.1 million, and the low bid was 1.926. Just over 6 miles of arterial collector road paving on this job. Completion date is expected at the end of October. They are and very quickly through, completely done with. Just got started a few days ago, and they're looking to be completely done with into substantial completion, I should say, within the next about 2 to 3 weeks. So early October is when we're expecting for that to be substantially complete. The next project, the Green Valley Country Club ADA and paving project. So this is an area combo curb ramp and paving project down in the Green Valley area. This was awarded to Tucson Asphalt. Engineer estimate was also 1.9 to 2.1. You can see this one came in a fair bit under engineer's estimate. 47 new curb ramps on this project, 2.64 miles of local road paving, with the completion date of the third-ish week of December, right before the holiday. There are some ramps ongoing currently. They just got started with this job, so really hasn't ramped up too much yet. Just doing the initial curb ramp removal and forming and all that sort of work. Paving is expected in November, so a long process in this job still yet to come. The next job, next slide, the Foothills Surface Treatment Project. So now has been going strong for about a month and a half now. They've got all their crack seal work is taken care of on this job, and some of the initial surface treatments have also started to happen within the last week and a half. They're looking to be done with all of the major work going into substantial completion on this project within about the next 3 weeks or so. It depends really on how many utility adjustments are needed after the fact. Some of these treatments will necessitate utility adjustments due to the tolerance for elevation for different manholes, water valves, all that stuff. So not every utility will have to be adjusted, but some may, to make sure that they're still in spec. Engineer's estimate for this was $2 million to 2.3, and it came in on the low side of that at 2.02 million. 3.73 miles of local road, surface treatment, and portions of 0.35 miles of arterial collect road treatment. That does include portions of Ina Road, Orange Grove Road, Catalina Highway, Snyder Road, and Territory. So quite a few roads up on the north side of the metro area. Moving on to the next project, the Middle Metro ADA curb ramp project. This was awarded to ISX Construction. Engineer estimate was $700,000 to $900,000, and the low bid for this one was $593,000. There's 58 new curb ramp installations on this one. Completion date of the end of January. They're going to beat that by a significant margin. It looks like they'll probably be done with this job within about the next month or so. And this is all in preparation for various work, so not all of it will be paving work. Some of these subdivisions will be getting a heavy surface treatment, but that treatment act necessitate us to go in and do the ramps per the ADA Act. Moving on to some awarded projects, so these are ones that are not yet in construction. Villages of Ventana ADA, so this is another standalone curb ramp project. This was awarded to Tucson Asphalt. Engineer estimate was $750,000 to $950,000, and low bid was $513,000. 55 new curb ramps. This is all kind of in the Sunrise Sabino Canyon area, so it's a couple subdivisions in that area as part of this package. Completion date on this has to be done before Thanksgiving. And we are expecting the work on this job to get started here shortly within the next few weeks. So this will be kind of following along after that Green Valley job. So once those curb ramps are done, that contractor is going to move up and start the curb ramps on this one. The next project, Costa Dobles engineer estimate. So this was awarded to Southern Arizona Paving. Engineer estimate was $1.5 to $1.75. Low bid for this one was $1.4 million. There's 3.82 miles of local road and just under 3/4 of a mile of arterial collector road. This is kind of in the general vicinity of La Cañada and Ina, La Cholla, Ina, that sort of area is where this is at. And this does include Chapala Drive as well as a couple different subdivisions that we've talked about here a couple times. They are looking at beginning this job about the middle part of October. They're sequencing this one after the Old Sonoyta project that we talked about, so when that one's done, they'll move up to start this one. Continuing on, Rudisill and Rito ADA and pave project. This is a combo curb ramp and paving project awarded to Sunland Asphalt. Engineer estimate was $900,000 to $1.1 million. And the low bid for this was $815,000. There's 0.7 miles of local road paving, 0.73 miles of arterial collector, and 24 curb ramps. The completion date is the end of January of 2026. And right now, they're tentatively starting around the middle part of October. So another job kind of getting kicked off in that October time frame. Noticing a pattern here. We're going to get very busy here very soon. And then the last awarded project we'll talk about, Abra Valley Area Surface Treatment, also awarded to Sunland Asphalt. Engineer estimate $550,000 to $750,000. It came in at $425,000. 7.87 miles of local road, 2.8 miles of arterial collector. Completion date end of February. And I'm going to sound like a broken record. Middle to late October is when they're getting ready to start this job. So what do we have coming up? We've got two jobs advertised currently. First one is the La Cebadilla Estates project out on the northeast side. This is around the Reddington-Wentworth area. There's two subdivisions and two arterial collector roads in it, 5.55 miles of local, of the end over a mile, and the total completion date of the end of March, and the bid opening for this is the 1st of October. So we'll find out which contractor gets it at that point. It can start as early as November 1st. So we will know more at the next meeting about that schedule on that project. And lastly, we will talk about the Club Crest Estates Catalina Madre Mill and Pave project. So this is also up on the northeast side. Bid opening for this one is the following day. So on the 2nd of October will be the bid opening for this one. Engineer estimate is 1.05 to 1.25 million. 2.8 miles of local road. Really, it's 2 subdivisions, Club Crest Estates and Catalina Madre subdivisions. There is some minor curb work in this project, no ramps, but there is some curb work that has to go on in prep of the paving for this. This subdivision has curb but no ramps currently. Completion date end of February, and also can start as early as November 1st. So that was a lot of projects. But briefly, just kind of talking, you can see where we're at this fiscal year. So construction, we got about a quarter of our dollars now accounted for in construction. About another quarter split up between that awarded and advertised. And then about half our work left still in the preparation stage, getting ready to get bid out over the next several months of the year. And with that, I will just remind everybody, you can view the status of all the roads selected within the 10-year program so far at the road repair preservation map with the link there below. And I will open to any questions.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
No questions. We'll move on to RTA next. Update, Director Skinner.
Good afternoon. Catherine Skinner, the Director of Transportation, for the RTA Next update. So since this committee did not have a quorum in July, our last meeting was some months ago, and it has been a whirlwind of activity with RTA Next, to say the least. You know, John Bernal, who sits on the TMC subcommittee meeting, is now the TMC policy subcommittee, has probably gone to more meetings at PAG than he had maybe when he was employed. So the county, interim director, it's all good news. So the city manager from Tucson, Michael, and he previously led the region together, and you know, all the committees to put together an RTA Next plan that the RTA board did vote to take to the voters in March of next year. So the board passed that in just earlier this month, and so did the Board of Supervisors from the county who need to endorse the plan. So what does the plan include? I won't go through all the shifts and negotiations that happen since we have a printed plan, which is in your packet. I'll just walk you through what is in it and then some of the background of why it's included as it has been included. So the first portion you're going to see is 1A, which is those RTA 1 projects that still need to be completed. And so projects from RTA 1 that have a scope modification needed to go back before the voters. So a number of these do include scope modifications, including the 2 that are in unincorporated Pima County, those being First Avenue from Orange Grove Road to Ina Road, which originally was going to be a 4-lane section and has been modified to be a 3-lane section with bicycle and pedestrian amenities. And then Silver Bell Road from Camino del Cerro up to Ina Road, which was originally envisioned to be a 3-lane section and is going to be a 4-lane section. And so why are those changes proposed? It is because looking at the actual traffic that materialized from when RTA 1 was planned to now, it just didn't grow in the areas they anticipated. And so those are the lane capacities needed to accommodate future traffic. So that's the first section. There's also funding for a number of reasons. Just simply, there was not enough for additional number of re-entry funding. Section 1B in the RTA Next Plan is going to be the new roadway projects. So similar to RTA 1, there's a list of named corridors that will be improved. There is a scope described for each of those. And the county has about 6 projects that are really just county alone. And then there's a handful of projects that cross jurisdictional boundaries. So another jurisdiction may have submitted it, but there will be improvements in unincorporated as well. Moving to the next major element area, that's safety, ADA, and active transportation. So it's a catch-all, really. This is a change from RTA 1. In RTA 1, there were more subcategories for traffic signals, pedestrian safety, bikeways, greenways, and the like. So this is kind of grouping anything that is an active transportation, a needed ADA improvement, or a safety improvement. So that includes, traffic intersection safety projects are all grouped together. Unincorporated county has 2 line items in there. One is going to be the Green Valley specific projects with $5.8 million. And then the other one is just the unincorporated county in general with $50.6 million over the 20-year program. Next element is the arterial and collector roads pavement and rehabilitation element. So that likely is an area of interest to this group that primarily talks about roadway conditions. This will be looking at the improvements, the treatments that are used on the roads need to have at least a 10-year life in order to qualify for this funding. So it's not going to be the surface treatments generally. It's going to be mills and overlays, which is what we do on our failed roads. And then it's not going to include local roadways. This will be going towards those more significant roadways in our community, arterials and collectors. There's a total of $177.6 million for this. The bulk of that is earmarked. So there's an administrative code that goes along with this, and it kind of spells out the amount of funding per jurisdiction. The bulk of that really is for the city of Tucson, but $10 million is for the county. And I will get to at the end of this whole list there's kind of a contingency plan, if you will, for if there's additional funds and how those will be spent. So I'll get to that last. The next major element is environmental. So those are the wildlife linkages. Some of you might be familiar from RTA 1, oversizing a culvert so that deer and other creatures can get under a roadway. That would qualify under this element. Fencing to funnel them into these. The fifth element is the transit element, such as that. So the fifth element is the transit element. The RTA, a huge amount, runs a large component of transit and funds a huge amount of the transit in Tran. And then some RTA actually manages the transit on much of the service that serves unincorporated Pima County, including the paratransit and ADA transit and some of our rural routes. So the transit funding here will support existing service we have in the unincorporated county. And you will see that there is some state non-RTA committed dollars. As it stands now and based on state statute, we make a contribution annually that increases with inflation to the transit system. And then the last element is the debt service, RTA, small business program, and administrative costs. So this is where if they do have to issue debt for this to accelerate projects, it's covered there, as well as the administrative costs of the organization itself. So one thing you'll notice if you're looking at the handout in your packet is basically every element has a line for additional revenues. This is because the base plan is on a pessimistic revenue projection. And there needs to be space built in for if they collect above that and in order for the region to have legal authority to spend that money. And so there have been line items inserted in each of the elements to provide that ability to insert funding and have that flexibility over the next 20 years. So that is the plan as it stands today. Is the work done? No. There's a TMC policy subcommittee that is meeting on a weekly basis, 3-hour, 4-hour meetings to go through that entire administrative document that goes along with the plan. And that gets into the policies and procedures as well as project descriptions for the overall plan. So a lot of work still ahead of us, but the major milestone of saying there will be an election has happened. The RTA board agreed to that, across the board. So that's a major success. So that's my update for now. I don't know if, Mr. Bernal, you want to add anything or entertain questions?
Madam Chair, yeah, thank you, Catherine. Yeah, and the RTA board actually meets this Thursday as well, by the way. And a lot of what they're doing now is communicating with Pima. The other thing about scheduling this election in March, the only other thing I'll comment about the plan itself is, I, for one, was a little disappointed that Pima County only got $10 million out of that arterial and collector pavement rehabilitation pot, but I understood, what was done and why it was done to keep the city of Tucson engaged. But I'm hopeful, if going in the other jurisdictions, but I'm hopeful that if the revenues do come in higher, there's about $80 million that would go into that particular line item. And thinking about the smaller jurisdictions not having all that much mileage in these categories, I'm hoping the county will get a much larger share of that $80 million. So we'll see. But I think the important, and the other thing that's happening right now, as Catherine mentioned, I'm on a committee that's working its way through the administrative code, but the interim executive director, Mr. Ortega, is focused on something else that I think is vitally important, and that's to see how the RTA as an organization can help advance these projects faster and more efficiently than it was done in the first RTA go-around. And that's an important step, because obviously having 7 projects carried forward is not a great message that is to be delivered to the voting public as this goes forward, but that's reality. And so I would certainly encourage you to, have people get familiar with what's in this package and see where it goes. So, thank you.
Thank you. John and Catherine, are there any questions?
I have a question, Madam Chair. Question on how the additional revenue works. It seems you wouldn't really be able to count on that till fairly late into the program cycle, right? Does that proportionally, if that comes to pass, does that start getting distributed proportionally among the 7 elements, or does it go to one first to fill up a bucket and then kind of waterfall down? Do you know how that works?
Partially, thanks, Sean, Madam Chair. And John, please feel free to chime in. I mean, the initial bulk of the money that comes in, there's a certain proportionality with more of it going towards the city. And then once they hit a certain threshold, it has a different distribution. I think it was footnoted in one of the versions. I don't know if it's footnoted in this one. Okay.
And it refers to the administrative code, which is still being worked on, of course, but Catherine's right, that's exactly what it's going to say. The city shall get some share off the top, and then everything else will be distributed proportionately.
Got it.
Okay, any other questions? Kelly?
Madam Chair. Just a question on what the county's doing to market the proposal to the public. Will you be setting up in-person open houses, or how's that going to work?
That is a great question. So a lot of the outreach is just starting to be worked on. So Pima County, the communications department. So we have our own community relations. There's a communications department at the county. They're meeting with RTA staff and all of the jurisdictional communication staff to really map out what the outreach effort is. Some of the initial surveys and polling that was done with the public to prepare this indicated that the public needs to be educated on what the RTA is, what have they done. Mr. Bernal pointed out there's carryover negative that could have be perceived as most a negative. However, I think most people, they understand the why of how we got there. It's not due to some, delay tactics. The Great Recession was massively impactful to the revenues, and that happened essentially year 2 of this program, and the revenues never caught up. And there were many attempts to use regional revenues to keep these projects going, but that was not sufficient to do so. And likewise, construction costs have truly skyrocketed, especially in the last 5 years. So when you compound that the revenues are too low and the expenses are going like this, you just have a separation there. And so some of it is that education. So yet to come, with an election happening in March, I imagine most of that will kick off in earnest closer to the November timeframe. So, which is really around the corner if we think about it, a month or so away.
All right, and I do have one more question, Madam Chair. Is the vote as simple as we just need more yes votes than no votes throughout the county?
There will be multiple questions on the ballot in March. It's either 2 or 3. I think they're still working out which it has to be. There's at least 2, which there were 2 questions when RTA 1 passed as well. There's the funding component, and then there's the plan component. The third question, and John, if you know more details on this, feel free. I think the third question has to do with these carryover projects.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, Kelly, I think the real key is that in RTA 1, there probably should have been an action to go to the voters and say, by the way, there's been some changes in scope, or there's been something happen that we need your authorization for. That didn't happen. So one of the legal kind of hurdles here is, can we put something that is not too complicated to tell the public, you're actually modifying RTA 1 as well with your vote? And you need, probably, like Catherine said, there'll be 3 items, so
Okay.
that's one. The other 2 are the new plan and the funding, and you need them all.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's confusing even for the voter.
Yeah.
But, okay. All right, thank you, I appreciate it.
Excuse me, Madam Chair?
Yes,
Bill Schlesinger has a question.
thank you, yes. Bill?
Bill?
Hi, thanks, Catherine. Nice presentation. You answered kind of one of the 2 questions I had, in that they did move forward with the pessimistic revenue projection, which I think helps address when people say, what do you do? You had the Great Recession. How are you preparing for something similar? You talked about the rising cost of construction. My recollection, there was a lot of discussion about the contingencies built into the projected cost, which I think would, in my opinion, help answer that question. How are we dealing with, or let us know, what contingencies were included in the projected cost?
Yes, Madam Chair, Bill, bottom of the entire, and previously, in the item kind of at the bottom of the entire plan previously, in the final iteration, that was removed. However, when each individual project was estimated, there were contingencies included on those individual project lines. And each jurisdiction worked directly with the consulting firm that put together these estimates to really look at phase by phase, what does the risk look like? Is this in an area with a lot of right-of-way takes that can be a risk? Is it in an area with a bunch of washes or other environmental features that could be a risk? And so that contingency is layered in. You don't see it as a standalone, but it is within each of the project estimates.
Thank you.
Great questions, great presentation. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you, Director Skinner.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Moving on to open discussion on meetings with Board of Supervisors and committee members. I believe, Ed, you have one?
Yes, we did. And with the passage of time, which I heard a little bit of that in Catherine's presentation, our meeting with Andre Lucano was in June. And I can report the results of that, but I also happened to be in a meeting with him in August, so I'll report the results of further discussion with him.
Thank you.
So, just read this, but I'll go slowly. Supervisor Kendall liked the idea of a sales tax. Thank you. Well, there's one working up here anyway. Supervisor Kendall liked the idea of a sales tax. However, he thought it might be difficult, given the county is considering a bond issue, which I didn't know at the time. RTA Next is still on the horizon, which we just talked about, and the city already has a half-cent sales tax for transportation. However, he was particularly interested in the idea of an offset for staffing account than $5 million per via revenue. From the vehicle license tax, $5 million might be appropriate given the revenue from the vehicle license tax that goes into the general fund, and we get and it's I think about a third for transportation needs. So he was attracted to that idea. In the subsequent discussion I had with him, I kind of reflected on the meeting afterwards, and I thought, I don't know that he really realized that we weren't talking about a sales tax unless RTA doesn't pass. So when I had the sales tax, I RTA down, and he appreciated it as certification if RT had a little warmer feeling about sales tax. So anyway, it was both sessions, the one-on-one and the one that Frank and I had with him in June. I thought he was very receptive to the committee's ideas.
Okay, does anyone else, John, did you have a meeting with
No, and Ed with his, and I didn't make that. But let me add something to this, by the way. I didn't realize that Ed had gotten that response from one of the supervisors, but I don't know if you were watching the Board of Supervisors' actions during the summer. One of the things that came out of the board activities of Mr. Ortega was the RTA board said, why don't we just go to the county and ask them to have a sales tax for transportation? They did that. The county said no. So actually, that hurdle has been crossed, but that was what seemed to be a simpler solution that didn't go anywhere.
Okay, are there any other discussion on this? Okay, we're to call to the audience. Yeah, okay, thank you. Future items for discussion. Anything anyone would like to see for the next meeting? I believe we probably would need to put nominees for next year officers on there. Okay, we're to the next meeting, which is being held December 9th here. Is there anything else?
Madam Chair, there was one item perhaps for the next meeting, unless we've gotten it and I missed it. Did we get a recap of what happened with the payment pres for the previous fiscal year that ended in June 30th?
No, I think our most recent memo to the board was before the conclusion of last fiscal year, and it's what included our program for fiscal year 26. We do anticipate preparing a presentation for the Board of Supervisors probably in the December timeframe, if everything lines up, and so it'd be opportune to provide the same update to you all.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? Second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Okay.